Greetings, peers and queers. Welcome back to another episode of Monday through Friday. My name is JC, and on today's episode, I've been hearing a lot, both in real life and on social media. A lot of girls like me, a lot of trans girls saying, I wish I wasn't trans. It's been a bit of a trend lately, and I understand why they're saying it. Now, first of all, let's talk about what they are not saying. They are not saying that they wish to detransition or that they wish that they can go to the time before they realized who they were. They're not saying that they want to go back to presenting masculine. They're not saying that they want to go back to their former lives. What they are saying is that they wish that they were born cis. They wish that they didn't have all this trial and tribulation thrust upon them. Let me explain a little bit. Take me, for example. I know that in my heart of hearts, it would have been a whole lot easier to have been born cis, to have been born a woman with all the right parts. Society would have accepted me to be a woman right away and expected the things that they expect of me now back then. I could have gone through life a lot easier had I been cis. For one thing, I could have gone through all the societal expectations and all the same events that my peers went through at the same time as them. I could have gone through all the little rituals that our bodies and society have cast on us at an age-appropriate time. Could have gone through my first crush at an appropriate time, and it would have been accepted. Could have gone through menstruation at the appropriate time, and it would have been expected. And just the ability to have gone through menstruation would have meant a lot to me. It would have been confirming who I am. One of my biggest regrets is that I never got to be a cheerleader. I always wanted to be a cheerleader, but I was like, nope, that's not for me because of my body. I would have loved to have been a cheerleader. You kidding me? I didn't go to school dances, and I'm fairly certain that this is true for a lot of trans women. We didn't get to go to school dances. No one asked us out to prom, or no one took us to things like prom, homecoming, Sadie Hawkins and stuff. But if you were anything like me, you were too shy and you ended up going to not the important school dances, but like some of the smaller ones by yourself. Let's not forget about, intimacy. There's a lot of negotiating that goes on in queer sex in general, because when you have similar bodies and similar parts, it's not always defined who plays what role. You have to kind of negotiate that in the moment or before. And when it comes to some of our bodies, we have to do a little prep work and a little housekeeping before we're ready for the act. Not always, just sometimes. You have to make sure that you're clean down there, or that you're clean back there. That's not always the case, but it's the case a lot of the time. And I understand that is one of the things that trans women say when they say, I wish I wasn't trans. Yeah, you wouldn't have to be especially concerned with sanitary issues down there. If you were cis and you had a functioning vagina, you could self-lubricate. You and a partner could we have a whim, you get it aroused and it happens, instead of finding the lube, checking are you clean, all that good stuff. Ease of access and looking your partner in the eyes each and every time, which would both be great. There's also the societal stigma of being trans. This is the big portion of it. Number one, if you are passing, that is to say that you appear to be the gender that you're presenting as, society does look fondly upon you, more fondly than the rest of us, and you will be, okay, cool. The bouncer has removed the velvet rope. you can come in, you're on the guest list. But if you're not exactly passing, there is this level of suspicion, if not disdain, for your mere presence. Unfortunately, just like everything else in life, beautiful people have it a little bit easier than people of average looks. And that's a sad fact, but it's a fact nonetheless. So what's another reason that folks like us would be saying, wow, I wish I wasn't trans? To be taken seriously, to be viewed as a human worthy of respect, worthy of dignity, and to have your voice matter. Sometimes you want to join in on the group and just be like, this is me, these are my experiences, and you have to edit yourself. One of the big things that cis people don't understand about trans people is the backlog of memories and experiences. If you are cis and you are treated like a little boy when you're young and you grow up to be a man, all of your memories and your stories make sense in that context. If you are cis and you're treated like a little girl and you grow up to be a woman, all of your stories make sense in that relation, in that like aspect. You can talk about, oh yeah, when I was 12, when I was in high school, when I was in my 20s, and people hear it and understand it. They're like, oh yes, 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 that makes sense. You do that when you're trans, and it's like, when I was a little boy. Or you have to edit the story a little bit. Like, you are now playing the pronoun game with your own history. Have you ever played the pronoun game? It's like the name game when you're talking to somebody and you know them and you know that you're supposed to know their name, but you can't quite remember it. So you're like, hey, you, how's it going? You, is there anything I can get you? You stay cool over there, person that I know. And you just avoid saying their name. But you're doing that with pronouns with your own backstory. You're sitting there amongst friends and you're like, growing up was a little bit weird for me. And sometimes they will forget that you are trans, if they even know at all. But if they're people that are around you often, like coworkers or friends, and they do know that you're trans, but you're wanting to share a relevant story about your past, you have to play this game where you're either editing who you were back then or not sharing something that's going to be predominantly opposed to who you are now. I know that might be difficult for some people to understand, but being trans very much is like having several reincarnations all in the same lifetime. You are playing multiple characters on the same character sheet. It's a lot. Think about like, oh yeah, I was awkward in high school. But then high school could have been years more than just 4 years. It could have been like, yeah, for the majority of my life, I was awkward because of this certain aspect about you. And now, starting fresh, you have to be somebody else, this new individual that is standing in front of people being like, I am valid, I am here. What else about me? Let's use me as an example one more time. I often think to myself, what is the most interesting trait about JC? And I always come up with two. Number one, that I'm trans, and number two, that I'm queer. But you take those away, and what makes me interesting? I don't always have an answer for that. Or that answer changes from day to day. It's very easy to say the most interesting thing about me is the fact that I am trans, is the fact that I am queer. But once you remove that, what else is there? That is something that I believe a lot of trans folks run into at some point. usually 2 to 3 years down the road, after the excitement of, this is who I am now. I'm finally this person. I've molded myself, taken little bits from every interesting person like me that I've ever met, and a few interesting bits from characters that I've loved, and a few interesting bits from people that I've fallen in love with or I respect. And I combined them together and I've made this person. But without being trans, who is this person? What's the most interesting thing about them? It's hard sometimes. It is hard sometimes to name something that is interesting about yourself, minus the fact that you're trans. That's one of the reasons that a lot of my peers might be like, I wish I wasn't trans. There's a self-identity crisis that we all go through. Again, not the first one, but again later on, like, okay, well, I am me, and now that I am me, what makes me so special? Another sad one is the fact that still, in certain states, in certain cities, anti-trans and anti-gay legislation is being passed. That makes it harder for us to go about everyday life. It makes it harder for us to fill out a job application. It makes it harder for us to find the medical help that we need, the medical help that is necessary. It makes it harder for us to relate to our family members, especially in areas where we are being penalized for being who we are. One thing that you can absolutely guarantee when you realize that you're trans, at some point, usually early on, you're going to lose touch with a lot of people that were close to you in the beginning. Keep in mind that this is hard, but this is for the best, because those are the people that wouldn't want to see you succeed anyway. If they really truly were there for you, they would accept you just the way you are. Another thing that makes it hard to be trans is the conversations that you need to have, is the constantly kind of outing yourself. Say that you run into somebody, you find them attractive, things are intensifying, and you're getting to the stage where it's like, I would like to see this person again. And you have to let them know eventually, like, hey, if you didn't know already, or if you didn't figure it out, I'm a little bit different. I have different parts. And you're scared because the ball's in their court now, and you got to see what their reaction is. You're not always going to get, okay, cool. Sometimes you're going to get, deal breaker, I got to go. Sometimes you'll get, oh, cool, I've always wanted to check somebody like you off of my list. You're exotic. I cannot wait to, put that notch on my bedpost. That is equally hurtful. I've had that one before, where it's like, this is no longer about you and me. This is about me and my life experiences. Another one that you'll get that is equally as hurtful is, well, I'm not gay, but I just want to experiment a little bit. It's like, okay, cool. I'm glad I get to be your little petri dish then. I'm glad I get to, help you out here, Dexter. Be your little Dee Dee in your lab and help you figure out whatever the science project is. If the other person is more concerned with you, the individual, and they're like, I'm attracted to you, but I don't know this about myself, I'm willing to give it a shot. Would you also be willing? That's one thing. But if the topic changes from who you are as an individual to, oh, I'm just excited to try this. This is going to be new. This is going to be novel. I've been looking up videos of people of your persuasion on adult websites. That is degrading. It is majorly degrading, and it is a big red flag not to be avoided. All right? Do not just blow that one off. That's a deal breaker. Take it from me. But it's hard because we have to have these conversations. We have to be like, hey, so you know, and you have to explain yourself. In that instance, it would be easier just to be cis. That's a lot of doom and gloom. That's a lot of negativity. But there is a silver lining. Being trans is awesome. Here's a few reasons why being trans is awesome. Number one, you have crafted yourself. You have decided who you are going to become, and you've taken control of your own destiny. You've taken control of your own appearance. Rather than plodding along blindly for the rest of your life, you have diverged from the pack, diverged from the herd, and said, nope, I am going to be this. And you did it. That in itself is amazing. That in itself is taking control of your own fate, your own destiny, and willing it into an existence that you want. No sculptor, no painter, no dancer or musician on this planet does not understand that same feeling of being able to create something with your own hands. It's breathtaking. Number two, you get to pick your own name. I know, right? For most people, their parents decide, oh, this is what this person is going to be referred to for the rest of their life. You're going to be Tommy. You're going to be Mary. You're going to be Chuck. You're going to be Ronald. Something like that. But for trans people, you get to pick your own name. You get to be like, nope, you will refer to me as Amy. You're going to call me Kimberly. My name is Elizabeth. You get to pick your own name. And that is such a cool thing that cis people don't get to experience often. Maybe if they're a famous writer or a celebrity, do they get to do that? But unless they're marrying somebody, the name doesn't change. You get to pick your own name. I've had people say, oh, what's your name? And I'm like, oh, it's JC. And they're like, oh, JC, that's a pretty name. I'm like, thanks. I chose it myself. That's a lot of power. Another reason why being trans is pretty awesome is that you are essentially shedding the skin of an old life and being born anew. How many people in their lifetime can actually say that they have been transformed, that they have become something other than what they were? It's a miracle. It really is a miracle. You have now lived 2 lifetimes in the same body. It can get a little confusing, but that's a superpower. It really is. You have seen the world through the experiences of one person, and all the little secrets and handshakes and smoke and mirrors that this one type of person is allowed to see, but the others aren't. And then you switch sides and you're on the other side, and it's like, oh, here's all of our secrets. This is the inner workings. This is what it's like. You know how amazing it is to know how both of these work secretly at any given time? It is a lot. Knowledge is power. Unfortunately, sometimes ignorance is bliss. The last really great thing about being trans is that Ponce de Leon did not need to go to Florida to find the fountain of youth. He could have gone as far as his local Planned Parenthood, because HRT is like the fountain of youth. Because I don't know if you've noticed this, trans people look a lot better than their cis peers at a similar age. What do I mean by that? Go take a look at your friends list or your news feed, take a look at all the trans women, and then take a look at all the cis women. Okay? Just saying. Just saying. I mean, this is kind of true of all queer people. Queer people in general, we have a little bit more of life left behind our eyes, and we look just a little bit more fit. than our hetero counterparts. But with trans people, it's like you get 2 scoops of that ice cream and a cherry on top. It's pretty freaking amazing overall, like, because I've ran into people from high school and they're like, oh my God, you look great. And I'm like, thank you. You're also here. I mean, it is what it is. No hate, no shade on my cis friends and stuff like that. But like, give us this bone. All right. We look a little bit better than you a little bit later in life, because for me, again, an example, I'm 36 and I'm going through puberty for the second time, but I'm going through puberty. Okay. So we look a little bit younger later on. Like these babies are only about 2 years old, if that. So they're perky. They're still perky. Yeah. So just another little, feather in the cap, another little icing on top. You look good later on in life. The reason that I put this video together now is because even though I do see from time to time friends of mine saying, I wish I wasn't trans, it has recently been almost a motto of a friend of mine who I look up to. And recently she has been like, I wish I wasn't trans. And I just wanted to let her know that A, you are beautiful. You are stunning. You have an incredible style and a natural beauty. But B, your mind is miraculous. The lenses through which you view reality and you put everything together is astounding. And you only get to be that through being trans, to see everything from different angles. You are an inspiration to me. Please understand this. Well, in the past I have made new videos every Saturday, and I'm hoping to get somewhere near that scheduling again. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope to see you all again next week. Until then, I love you, and you need to love yourself as well. Bye.